Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Chatting with the Experts TV show with me, Paula Okone, as your host. Every week, I bring to you fantastic women, professional women, entrepreneurial women from Africa, from the Caribbean, and in the diaspora. And our mission is to empower women, to educate women, and to encourage women globally. Sometimes I have some men join me to do, and they share the same mission as I do. But today, it's going to be a woman. Her name is Sandy Arnette, and we'll be talking about seizing every opportunity to tell your story and get your message out there. We're going to dive into the power of storytelling and why it's essential for can't speak today, why it's essential for building a strong personal or business brand. I'll tell you a bit about Sandy. Sandy Arnette is an accredited public relations strategist with over 30 years of experience in media placements, message development, event planning, and coordination, writing, as well as copy editing. And she's managed some big names. So Fortune 50 companies, including Comcast and Verizon. In 2019, she launched her own business called Arnette Media Strategies, LLC, which is a public relations consulting firm that helps clients tell their story, build brand awareness, and reach new audiences while gaining visibility through media placements. I could tell you a lot more about Sandy, but why don't I let her just join us on the show? And so with that, I want to welcome Sandy Arnette to Chatting with the Experts.
Hi, thank you for having me, Paula. I'm honored to be here today.
I always get the best, and I know you are the best in what you do. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you said yes. And, what we're going to be talking about is something that a lot of us need to know, which is seizing every opportunity to tell our stories and get our messages out there. Because some people don't know this, but I don't like being in front of the camera.
And you do such a wonderful job of it.
Thank you. So tell me, or tell us, how can we get our stories out there? Why is storytelling so crucial for building our business brand?
Well, I think a lot of it is that people are doing some great work out there. And honestly, you really do need to be telling your story, not sitting on your good news. And someone has often told me, you can't be a secret agent. If you want to grow and scale your business, you really need to get out there and start talking about it, letting people know what you're doing, what you've accomplished, where you're going. So with PR, with public relations, it can help you do that because, like part of what I do, I may work with a client to help them develop that message. So how can we tell your story? How will it resonate with your target audience? So just kind of working with them on developing the message, maybe creating a strategic communications plan, and then kind of following that path. How can we get you in front of, on TV, on radio, in the, newspapers or on print, online media? How can we set you up for doing podcasts? It shouldn't just be your traditional media either, but like, your social media, your podcast, your blogs. These are all avenues to get your messages out there.
So why storytelling? Last week I had a guest on and she was based in Africa. We were talking about the sustainability of agriculture in Africa. And she said one of the things we discussed was that everybody likes to hear a story.
Yes, and I think it's important with storytelling because it kind of humanizes you and your business. It also helps you to connect with your clients, with your audience. And like you said, everyone loves a good story. And the interesting thing is that a lot of times, especially when we're moving into starting businesses or doing other things in our lives, it's usually something that prompted us to do it, right? To step out there on faith and to kind of take that risk and get it going. So your story is unique. And sometimes it helps to tell what got this all motivated, what got you motivated to move in this direction. So yeah, I think a lot of it is that it will help. It's something that will resonate possibly with your clients, with your customers. And then it just kind of puts that human element on it as well.
I agree. I certainly agree. You know, it's so much more interesting to hear like facts wrapped around in a story than to just hear
Mm-hmm.
straight, you know, boring to me statistics or facts. But when you hear
Mm-hmm.
someone humanizes it, like say, you know, I was not always someone comfort, like I could talk for myself. I wasn't comfortable being in front of the camera, but I've seen my life change in a way that it impacts people positively. And that's why I
Mm-hmm.
do what I do. And then I get to meet
Right.
amazing people like you and so many of my other guests.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's wonderful. And honestly, it's just really, like you said, I think it helps you grow. Sometimes when we stretch and we step out of that comfort zone, it really helps you to grow. And I think people limit themselves sometimes. And it's like because maybe of fear, you're not sure how you'll be perceived. You're not sure, if you'll be successful. But if you just step out there, you'll be amazed just how, you come out on the other side and how much better and how you'll grow, into your purpose, right? And so that's a really wonderful thing.
Yeah. So can you tell us like some ways that we can craft our messages so that it comes out in a way that it's authentic and people actually want to lean in and listen to it?
Hmm. Well, when you think about your messages, especially when you're working with reporters, your media outlets, a lot of it is to look at why does their audience care? So why do their viewers, their listeners, their readers care? And I know sometimes people will think because they are doing something, it's newsworthy.
Mhm.
And it may not be like, just say if it's a conference, I'll use that as an example. People do conferences every day. So if you want to have a reporter cover your conference, you really might have to look at what issue is your conference addressing? How do we tag that to what's trending in the news? Do you have specific speakers who are like, well known, or they're telling things that people really want to hear about, that it's impacting a large group of people? These are all things that you can work with in developing your messaging and helping to get your story out there. But it really has to kind of boil down to what would a reporter deem newsworthy? So that's what I try to help people work on, developing those messages and just seeing, maybe it might be, just say if it's Women's History Month, I will work with people. How do we highlight women in your businesses that are doing some wonderful things? Have they created, done some inventions, whatever it is? How do we work with that and get that message out? So that's like an example of how you just try to see what's trending in the news as well and just, kind of develop your messaging around that.
Wow, you know, I never thought about that. And maybe I specifically haven't thought about that because I haven't done the conference yet that I want to do, of the seminar that I've been talking about forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great point. What is trending out there and what do people care about, you know? Because it could be
Mm-hmm.
trending and people don't care, right?
Right. That's true. That is very, very true. So you just have to kind of look at the impact. If it's something, dealing with health, if it's something, it could be a number of different things. But yeah, just kind of keeping mindful. And then as the PR professional, like with my agency, for instance, you have public relations. I try to explain to people that it is different from advertising or marketing. I think they're all important. But when you think about PR is more of your earned media. So it's the relationships that people like myself, like I would have with reporters, the connections that I make with them, that when I come to them with a pitch, a media pitch to cover a story, they're looking to work with me, or I can sell them on what your business is doing and the importance and the significance of this and why it's important to their readers or to their listeners or their viewers. Then we have an opportunity for coverage. So, that's why it's important. Now with advertising, it's guaranteed, you pay for it, but it can be whatever you want because you've paid for it. Sometimes we always look at your earned media as generating a little bit more credibility because a reporter doesn't have to write about you or to, tell your story. But when they do, it's obviously because they found some value and what it is that you do and how it's going to impact their audience.
Earned media. Never thought about that either. That's why I have you here.
Yeah, and it's free. So that means, it's for the most part, it's free. But, that's what the earned media is. You're just working on the relationships that you have, the connections that you have with media to help get stories placed.
All right. So now that we live in a world where there's social media, we have the traditional media and we have social media. How can you kind of figure out who would be that, because it's earned media, so who would be that right person? Because there's so much to choose from these days that it can get a bit overwhelming.
No, that's very true. And so, like in my role, what you do is that you really try to follow some reporters, see what they're covering, or, we have some of the tools that you can use that if you need to create a media list, for instance, there's a database that, I can access to see who's talking about XYZ, who's been covering this story. And I can create a list of reporters and start, developing those relationships and talking with them that, I have a client that's doing this. I know you've been covering this issue. I just wanted to keep you, looped in that this is happening. Maybe we can set up an interview. If you're doing something even going forward, maybe you can use them as a subject matter expert because they've been in this arena doing whatever it is that they're doing, for a while, and they can be a good source for you. So yeah, that's just, using all the tricks of the trade and, just the relationships as well. It helps.
Yes,
It
I'm hearing a
definitely
lot
helps.
from you about relationships. So relationships really matter in the public relations world, right?
Yes, most
Mhm.
definitely. And even with that, I'll just, on sort of the PR side, when you're working with reporters, you want to have that credibility. So if you're pitching them on a story, you want to make sure that you're giving them everything that they need. Reporters are busy. So I know a lot of what I do, I try to do a lot of the hand holding. I try to line things up for them, just where they don't have to go trying to research what this is. I provide all the information. You try to make their jobs as easy as possible because they're busy and they're getting pitched all the time. People are always reaching out to cover this, cover that. So if you want them to consider your client to help tell your story, then you really need to try to make it as easy and really look at, again, what are the newsworthy nuggets that they could be interested in? And then just really trying to make sure that you get them that information, connect them with that client. Now, I've heard some reporters complain where, someone will say this event is happening on Saturday.
Mhm.
Then the reporter reaches out that Saturday morning because now they want to cover the event. And the media contact person is not available. They're not answering the phone or they're not, and that's not a good thing. So, you just want to make sure you're always accessible and that you're there to provide the information that that you say you're going to provide that will help them tell the story to their audience.
So you're kind of in between because I'm listening to you say that,
Mm-hmm.
so you need to see what's trending. You need to create relationships with the reporter, the media person.
Mm-hmm.
Also have to help out the person who wants that story or event publicized and make it as
Right.
easy as possible for them to give you that information so that you in turn can give it to the media or the reporter. So that
You hit the nail right on the head. That's exactly right. And yeah, so we are, as the PR professional, you are in the middle, so to speak. You're working with the client, you're working with the media, and you're trying to have it be a win-win. The media gets a good story, your client gets the visibility and the exposure, right? So that's definitely something that you want to accomplish. And then what's helpful for the client as well, people are busy, right? You're running a business, you're trying to manage maybe the day-to-day operations. So when they know your client knows that they can trust you to kind of take this, keep our messaging out there, help with our, reputation management, our credibility, if there's a crisis, step in and help manage that crisis, provide media coaching. So a lot of times when clients are ready to do interviews, sometimes it's just giving them a little coaching on what to expect, the questions they may be asked, how they should respond, how much time they have. So that means you can't just stay on one answer especially if you have more things that you want to talk about. So, just giving them coaching, your backdrop, everything. So, yeah, it's just helping people to just not have to worry about certain things because they know you've got it.
You know what, Sandy, this is really good to know because we're in an age where everything's quick, social media.
Hmm.
You take a picture, you post it out there, you expect comments, you do your
Trying
video.
to constantly engage people.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What I'm hearing from
Yes.
you is almost like, all right, now we've done all of those. This is now the more matured, almost, way of approaching publicity for your business. Yes, you can do the
Hmm.
social media posts, etc. But sometimes you still need to have someone who's looking out for you on both ends. Someone
Right.
making sure that it's easy for you to connect with the reporter with the relevant media sources that you need. And you said something that I think is really important that small business owners don't always think of, and that is keeping your reputation intact.
Yes, it is very, very important. And so just think, and I use the example like with the crisis communications, right? So a situation arises with your business, it helps to have someone who can kind of guide you through. So making sure that you know what your messaging is going to be in the crisis, that you're trying to be transparent as much as you can, and definitely conveying the message that whatever the issue is, you're working to get it resolved right away. And then, depending on how involved the crisis is, who are you positioning to be your spokesperson? Would it be the head of your business? Would it be someone else, that might be close to the issue, but it may not be the person who actually owns the business? So just looking at all of that, because, a lot of times if you don't provide information and they know there's a story, there's something going on out there, it's almost like people start to fill in the gaps, right? They start to assume must be this going on, or we heard this from someone, so it's just like you want to control your message. So you just want to make sure that you're out there and you're not kind of like hanging back or dragging your heels, like try to get on it right away. Find out what's going on, what happened, what do we need to do to fix it, and what do we need to communicate so people know we're not ignoring it, that we're on top of it. We hope to have it resolved as quickly as possible.
Love it. I really love it. Yeah. We don't, as small business owners, sometimes you don't think about that part. You think more of the
You
online
don't.
reputation control, don't have, do your SEO. But there's that spokesperson, as you said, who may have to be in front of the camera,
Mm-hmm.
the right thing.
Right. And what are you sharing? Maybe you're not ready to go out with everything yet. You have to make sure, or maybe it's something where you have to talk with your legal team, on messaging. So, it's just kind of working with them and, making sure that what we're saying is approved, but it's also something, that lets people know you're working on getting things taken care of. And you're doing that as quickly as possible.
As quickly as possible. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what I didn't share
Yes.
in your bio is that you are the president of the Baltimore Public Relations Council and a member of the Public
Yes.
Relations Society of America, Baltimore.
Yes.
Also, you're part of the Baltimore Association of Black Journalists. So
Mm-hmm.
you had a lot of experience in this field.
Well, I've been doing PR so long. Like I said, I guess even working in corporate, it's been over 30 years, but I absolutely love it. And I'll tell you, Paula, it was just, I had a little fear at first when I decided I was going to step out there and really just do the business full time, but I have not regretted it, and so it's what I enjoy doing. I love that, most of my clients have been referrals and repeat business. So that's been a blessing. But you just never know what you can do until you step out there and try. And, I always say that even with this, there's a piece of pie for everyone, right? There's enough out there for everyone. And our good friend Betty Hines always says that, that there's enough out there for everyone. You don't have to feel like, you have to just keep it all to yourself. And I thank some of my PR colleagues that have been involved with the organizations that I'm in, that when I first started, they gave me some excellent tips, on handling clients, on what I should be looking to do, just things, good business tips. And so it's just been helpful. And then when they were busy, sometimes referring clients over to me, which was a help as well. So, you try to pay it forward when someone else is kind of moving in and thinking to start their own. And so we just kind of keep it going. But our PR groups, yeah, we're just so much like family. It's just been wonderful. It's just been wonderful. And we do a lot of professional development. So we talk about trending topics in the industry so that we can stay on top of things. It could be AI, it could be PR tools that will help make our jobs more effective or, easier. It could just be a number of different things. A lot of times we network with media. We just recently went to one of the TV stations in Baltimore, sat down and talked with their whole team, pretty much, a number of their team members, and then did a tour. But our members like that, but it's also a chance to network, to, pitch a story, while you're there at the station and things like that. So it's just been wonderful. I do enjoy it a lot.
It's written all over your face and even your voice, I could tell.
I do. I love what I do. I really do. And it just really makes me happy when I deliver for my clients. And I really do try to go the extra mile to make sure that they get the exposure that they deserve, especially when they're out there doing some wonderful things, because you can turn in on the news and always hear about all the tragedy that's going on around us. But it's wonderful to hear that, people are out there doing some wonderful things as well. So trying to get those stories out there. Mm-hmm.
So true, so true. So, you mentioned that when you launched your own business, Arnette Media Strategies,
Mm-hmm.
some trepidation and fear. And that made me just think about what you mentioned at the beginning when we were talking about helping people to, get over their fear and hesitation when sharing their stories. How do you help people do that? Because I know you have experienced it. I know I've
Mm-hmm.
experienced it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you help people?
Yeah, I think, well, I know for myself, when I talk about the fear, it was a lot of prayer and just really having faith that you know what you bring to the table. And then, not trying not to doubt yourself. Now, when I'm working with clients, a lot of it is just really trying to make them feel comfortable. I think for the most part, they're comfortable when they're prepared. So, sometimes if it means let's do a mock interview, you're going to talk with a reporter tomorrow. Let's do a mock interview and I'm going to toss questions and make sure that you're comfortable. That's kind of part of some of the media coaching I was talking about. So doing something like that, maybe giving them an idea of the questions that they may be asked so that they aren't blindsided, also doing a little research on the reporter or the media outlet that will be talking to them. So you can kind of see the stories that they've covered, you know, is this going to be, kind of a feel good, like a nice interview, or is it something that might be a little controversial, and how are you going to be prepared to respond? If it's something in person, I am usually right there. I try to make sure that I'm showing up with my client. I get there early just to make sure they're good. I always tell them to arrive early so they have a time to just get a feel for the lay of the land, be comfortable. If they have to use the restroom, get some water, coffee, they can do that and then be ready to go into the interview, because the last thing you want is to be rushing from the parking lot into the chair where you're going to be doing the interview and you're all flustered and everything. You just want to get there early and have time to relax. So I think really getting over the fear is just being prepared. And a lot of the time, these people know their subject because this is what they do on a regular. So you just try to tell them, you've got this.
Yeah.
You know exactly what it is that you do. So, you'll be fine.
And that's a real big part of it. That's why I call my show Chatting with the Experts, because, as you say, there's fear of the unknown, what am I going to be asked? But when you are comfortable with your subject, when you're passionate about it, when you know it, it's so easy to talk about. You could
It
talk for
is.
hours.
It is. And I have to tell you too, Paula, a lot of it is, sometimes the person doing the interview, like talking with you, it's so easy. So you make your guests very comfortable. And so if a reporter is able to do that, I think, the person they're interviewing will automatically relax and, it'll be a conversation. It won't be, an interview or like an interrogation or anything. It's
Right.
a conversation. And so, you just really try to create that atmosphere so that, there's a lot of good information that will be shared and kind of hopefully, knock off some of the nervousness that a
Right.
person may have.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I also tell people to, because I've had a few guests who are like, oh, I want to do this, but I'm so scared to say, you know what? The flip side too, sometimes the interviewer is a bit worried too, and you, the guest, you know.
Uh-huh.
So
I know, but it's like practice makes perfect too. So
yeah,
like if someone is really interested or know that this is something that they need or want to do, try to do as many as you can because eventually you start to get more comfortable when you're doing it. You know your messaging. So it's almost like it's already in your head, right? You don't even have to really prep a whole lot
yes,
because you've been talking about this. And then you're just, the more you do, the better you do. And like I said, practice makes perfect. It's just doing them often.
practice does make perfect. Oh my, I mean, we could talk forever. So you've got a business, you launched it in 2019. If someone is interested in doing business with you, how can they find you online, Sandy?
They can go to my website. It's sandyarnettemedia.com. And Sandy is with a Y. So it's SANDYMEDIA. So I'm sorry, Sandy Arnette Media. Sandy, SANDYARNETTE media, MEDIA.com. So that's where you can find me.
Okay, and are you on any of the social media
I'm
platforms?
on all of them. Yes, I'm on all of them. LinkedIn,
TikTok
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So yes, all of them.
and X.
X.
Oh,
Hmm.
yeah, X. I have to get used to X.
I
Yeah,
know we always want to still say Twitter, but yeah,
right.
but X.
Oh boy, yes. And for those of you who have joined us, I want to say if you would like to be a guest like Sandy, Sandy was an audience member and she was with our good
Yes.
friend Betty Hines. She was a member.
Hmm.
And at the end, I loved the questions she asked that I reached out to her, and here she is as a guest.
Yes, and I thank you. I thank you for having me. I'm honored to be on your show.
Absolutely. So we know that we're going to have a Q&A afterwards, so everyone should stay behind and ask as
Mhm.
many questions of Sandy as you want, and even ask me if you could be a guest on my show. And if you would like to be a guest, it's my website is chattingwiththeexperts.com. I am on LinkedIn. I tell everyone that's my favorite social media platform. Just
Me too.
so we share that as well. It's Paula Okone. Just look for Paula Okone there. I'm also on Instagram. That took some time to get there. It's almost like pulling teeth because I was like, I'm fine with LinkedIn, but I'm on Instagram and my handle there is at chat_experts_podcast. And I'm on Facebook as Paula Okone. And yeah, it's always so good to have my guests and, better still is the Q&A that follows immediately afterwards. So don't go away,
Mhm.
everybody. I just want to say thank you right now to Sandy for being a guest on Chatting with the Experts and wait a few minutes. In fact, she'll be here to answer all questions afterwards. Thank you
Yes.
all.
And thank you again. This has been wonderful.
Awesome.